Live slow, live it up, watching time go. Planning moves, staying solid to this cheat code. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Live slow, live it up, watching time go. Making moves, staying solid to this cheat code. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. This how it is, the mission's Benjamins. And fuck the drama and the bullshit, we ain't little kids. My circle small, but my riders heart, they never quit. Get your money, keep it gangsta, solid, straight legit. Never switch like the real ones that die for this. It's fucked up, but this is truly how it is. I hope you're ready if you're picking this like full of sin. No turning back, I represent my vital to the end. Fuck the fakes and the snakes and everyone that hates. I'm not phased, I won't break, bitch, I'll never.
You are now watching M.O.D. Entertainment.
What's good, G-Life? This right here is beautiful Oregon. Yes, Oregon. And Oregon, as beautiful as it is home to a lot of gangs. You know what I mean? Not only a lot of gangs, but a lot of homeboys as well. A lot of Sureños, Southsiders. And several of these neighborhoods are brown ragged and have brown in the title. So as we continue the all brown barrios that are homeboy neighborhoods, this is where we'll need to land, right here in Oregon, and different places. So we'll be bouncing around from different counties and cities to cover these neighborhoods. So with no further ado, let's get into it. And as we make our way to the area of Salem and Kaiser, we actually need to be hitting both areas in order to find these next neighborhoods on the list. And for the first one, the one that we'll be starting off with, we have the varrio BPT, which is the largest one within this area. BPT translating to varrio, brown pride tokers. No connections to the rest of the Toker neighborhoods. Like I said, common theme that you'll be seeing right here, with the names and stuff like that, because they're names that, are often used, you know what I mean? Tokers, brown pride, etc. Now, the BPT neighborhood, the Brown Pride Tokers, are the largest neighborhood within the area of Kaiser and Salem. And also, they are clicked up with the Vatos Locos gang over here. That's why you see them together. Although the Vatos Locos use green rags, the Brown Pride neighborhood uses the brown rags. But they're homeboys, they're Sureños. And although they are clicked up, they're their own individual gangs nonetheless. So even though they're clicked up together, they roll together, hang out together, and etc., they are two separate gangs. You know what I mean? They just come together to combat the same common enemy, because you do have a bunch of gangs within this area. You have the Cribs, Bloods, Norteños. You have several and other MS 18 and etc. So it's not all lovely like people think. This area definitely be on and cracking, you know what I mean? Right here. But nonetheless, the BPT neighborhood is one of the largest ones. They already been right here established since the 90s. They've been established. They do their thing. For those who want to say that, nah, man, ain't nothing cracking over there. I put some reports right here. Like I said, I don't never got to make it up, and all of that. Like I said, I don't come from these areas, but I do talk to these individuals. They're the ones that show me the info and etc. And I do, verify the stories with other individuals and run them, making sure that everything, matches up. Because I know people are always going to want to throw, salsa on their side. But that way, we separate what's real and what's not. But like I said, this is a real neighborhood that does real things right here in the Kaiser and Salem area. As a matter of fact, even in some reports, law enforcement did put that the Brown Pride Tokers were the Hispanic gang that gave them the most trouble within those areas. You know what I mean? Just because from the reports that they have more than 65 documented gang members to the Brown Pride Tokers. So they are a large group. For it being these areas, that right there in itself is a vast neighborhood. And like I said, the Brown Pride Tokers still continue to represent theirs and putting theirs on the map. And as we maintain ourselves still right here within the area of Salem, not so much Kaiser, but Salem, is where we're able to find the next, neighborhood which is on the list, which is the Varrio BPR. BPR translating to Varrio Brown Pride Rasa. And although I have already covered a Brown Pride Rasa neighborhood, which is actually from the San Fernando Valley, my home, this neighborhood and that neighborhood are two different neighborhoods. You know what I mean? All they have in common is just the name. And yes, they are both Sureño gangs. It's one of those things, you know what I mean? They have the same name, but they're different gangs. Like I said, common thing, you know what I mean? They're all the way, in California. These guys are all the way over here. So, they didn't know. And like I said, it's a common, you can see why people would come up with that idea, because those concepts are concepts that a lot of people use, brown pride raza and stuff like that. And this neighborhood is a little bit more smaller in this area, but they are homeboys nonetheless, and been right here in this area since the later 2000s. I mean, the later 90s into the early 2000s when this neighborhood was established. And I was told that it was small, roughly about 25 to 30 members, the max. You know what I mean? So, not one of these larger neighborhoods, but nonetheless, a real hood that does real things right here. And continues to represent theirs for Salem and the Brown Pride Rasa. Now, as we maneuver our way to Ontario and Nisa, over here in Malhara County, I think that's how you pronounce it, in Oregon, on the north side, to be exact, of Oregon, is where we're able to find this next varrio. And this varrio right here, at least in this area, it is the most known and the largest one within this area. But it's not the only gang right here, because you do have several other gangs within this area. You know what I mean? You have tons of neighborhoods, from 18s and MSs and Latin Kings and all kinds of neighborhoods. You know what I mean? It's like a big mixture of everybody. But this is a neighborhood that has made headlines, made the news, made, front pages, the works, my boy. You know what I mean? These guys were doing real things, at least from law enforcement. They were the most dangerous and, committing all kinds of homicides and all kinds of stuff, within this area. They got hit with a RICO act. I'm telling you, they got hit with sweeps. You name it, they were in it, which is the Varrio BMC. Varrio BMC translating to Varrio Brown Magic Klika. Brown Magic Klika is a neighborhood that started here in the early 90s. Exactly, from what it says is 1990. You know what I mean? So it's already been right here for a long time. One of this area's, probably oldest neighborhoods. Who they say they have roots to California, but what they mean by that is that the founding members were from California. You know what I mean? But they didn't. It's not that the gang started in California and then they moved over there. Is that the founding members were from California. That's what they mean by it has roots to over here, but it's not from California. That is its own homegrown gang over there. It's just that their members are originally from over here. And the Brown Magic neighborhood is up to, at least from what I was told, is up to 60 members to it. So making it one of the largest ones within that side, because like I said, even though to California standards that that's small, for these areas, that's massive. You know what I mean? And these guys, do real things, homie. Like I said, they got hit with sweeps and everything. These guys definitely be putting theirs on the map and holding it down right there on their side of town, and still continues to be active and representing for the Brown Magic and still putting theirs on the map. Now, as we maintain ourselves over here, but now heading towards the area of like what's Forest Grove, Hillboro, Tigard, all of that area over there, on this side. Is where we're able to find several sets, you know what I mean? But we'll be starting off with, the more recognizable one, which is the Brown Pride Sureños. I have already covered them here several times, but like I said, that their own individual neighborhood, so they have no connections to the rest of the Brown Pride Sureño neighborhoods, just that they have the same name. You could already see why, this name would be, thought of, a lot by a lot of people. You're proud to be a Sureño, it's a Brown Pride thing. You can already see why a lot of people, will grab that name and run with it. You know what I mean? And it is the largest one out of all the brown neighborhoods within this side. The Brown Pride Sureños definitely be holding it down for theirs. started in the mid 90s, at least from what I was told. And this neighborhood is roughly up to 30 to 40 members. You know what I mean? Like 45, 50 around there. The homie said he thinks roughly around 60, but he wasn't too sure. He said like from 40 to 60. So take what you want from me. You know what I mean? And like I said, they have no connections to the rest of the Brown Pride Sureño neighborhoods. It's just a coincidence. But they be holding it down right here, a home, breaded gang, and they are brown raggers and blue. So their colors are blue and brown. You know what I mean? That is the colors that they use. So people would be like, nah, I seen them with blue red, I seen them with brown red. Well, no, yeah. Well, their neighborhood is a combination of both colors. So it's brown and blue is their colors. You know what I'm saying? And they continue to still represent for theirs and putting theirs on the map on this side of town and continue to still hold it down. The next barrio that we have on the list, within this area, this one being a little bit different, is the BPC. BPC is known as the Brown Pride Chicanos, but it originated as the Brown Pride Chicanas, meaning it was a girl gang that then started recruiting males into it. And no, it has no connections to the Brown Pride Chicano gang in Phoenix, Arizona. Those guys are different from these guys. These guys are Sureños. Those guys are not. You know what I mean? Sureñas, you get what I mean? But yeah, they started as a girl neighborhood roughly around the mid 90s. They were like that. And like I said, it's not, a strange thing to hear that, because several neighborhoods have gone through this, where they start off as female neighborhoods and then, they recruit males and etc. I have already mentioned several neighborhoods, on here that, have gone down that path. Or at least their origin, comes from that kind of path. But yeah, these guys are real, and females are real individuals that do real things for their barrio. You know what I mean? They were holding it down, putting in work, for shootings and for shootings, theft, car theft, and all kinds of shit, that the Huda has them right here on the reports, that, they were doing throughout this area, throughout this whole entire area. Because they're scattered out, they're spread out. But they still continue to represent theirs and putting theirs on the map for the Brown Pride Chicanos, Chicanas, and holding it down still. Another neighborhood that we have within this area, it is the Varrio BPM. Now, BPM, not to be confused with the Brown Pride Mexicans. We'll be getting to those. But these ones are known as the Brown Pride Mariguanos, which is the second largest within this area. Well, we're talking about all the brown neighborhoods. This is the second largest, at least from what I was told, roughly from 30 to 35, 39, 38, roughly around there, members to it. The Brown Pride Mariguanos is a neighborhood that has already been well established here since 1992 that they were established. And they start off as just a stoner group, you know what I mean? That kids that would just hang out, like to, toke it up, you know what I'm saying? But other groups that were already established within the area, would try to, pick on them and stuff like that. So this group, stood their ground, defended themselves, and started, fighting back. And then, from the stoner group, it went from just hanging out and blazing it to now, retaliating and fights turn to shootouts, and you already know where I'm going with this. So it manifested into becoming a gang, you know what I mean? But that it was not what the original intent was. There was just a group of individuals that used to like hanging out and blazing, at least from what I was told. But then, through the chaos and everything, it manifested into what we have now, which is the Brown Pride Mariguanos, 13 neighborhood. And they are homeboys, like I said, brown and blue is, brown and green is their color, but they are homeboys, you know what I mean? So, occasionally you do see them with blue rags as well, but the original colors for the neighborhood is brown and green, and obviously you already know brown obviously for the Brown Pride, and then the green for bud and stuff like that. But yes, this is another large neighborhood that continues to still represent right here and holding it down for theirs. Another neighborhood that we have, within this area. Now, this one being a little bit of the more smaller neighborhood, you roughly don't see it up as much no more or hear about them, but it's still a neighborhood nonetheless, which is the varrio BCR. BCR translated to Brown Crowd Rasa. Brown Crowd Rasa, yes, it is a real neighborhood. Individuals try to say that, nah, it was the Brown Pride Rasa name. No. They're two different neighborhoods. Brown Pride Rasa and Brown Crowd Rasa are two different gangs, you know what I mean? Located in two different areas, but this one being obviously the more smaller one, you roughly don't see them up. But here's a fun fact: these guys actually came before the BPRs. But it's just that a bunch of neighbors popping out of nowhere and their homies getting busted and just made recruitment a little bit more difficult, because at least from what I was told is that there were roughly about 20 to 22, 25 members roughly around there. So they were one of the more smaller gangs. Within the area, but nonetheless, a real neighborhood holding it down for the Brown Crowd Rasa.
Thank you for watching M.O.D Entertainment. Make sure you like and subscribe.